So we've discussed a lot about Martian weapons or equipment, and one of the things we've talked about recently is the Martian Marine Corps. But I figured today we could take a closer look at one of the most iconic pieces of tech utilized by the Martian Marine Corps, their Goliath Power Armor. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. So the Martian Marine Corps, as I mentioned in a previous video, has got a lot of different elements to it, but one of the most significant and capable fighting forces within the Martian Marine Corps are their Force Recon Marines. These are specialized Marines used mostly for offensive operations, so they're really not stationed on every vessel like the standard Martian Marine Corps. And they are most notable for utilizing their Goliath Power Armor, some of the most capable power armor in the system. So I figured today we could take a look at exactly what the Goliath Power Armor is and what kind of tech and capabilities it's really packing. So let's just start with what exactly the Goliath Power Armor actually is. Well, the Goliath Power Armor is a set of heavy power armor utilized by the Martian Marine Corps that is remarkably capable. Its armored plating is nearly impenetrable to most small arms fire, making the soldiers wearing it very difficult to stop, taking something akin to a large explosion or a very well-placed shot to actually take a Martian wearing Goliath Power Armor out of action. But on top of that, the Goliath Power Armor comes with a very impressive set of weapons and capabilities. Let's start with their primary weapon. The primary weapon tied to the Goliath Power Armor is a rotating multi-barreled minigun mounted in one of the arms. This minigun fires 6.25mm incendiary-tipped caseless ammunition, which is capable of devastating biological combatants like enemy soldiers that aren't very armored, but can also do a significant amount of damage to vehicles and even heavy equipment. I'm sure they would be able to do a number on even a small spaceship, for example. But when Martian Force Recon Marines come up against a heavier target like an armored vehicle or even a small spaceship, they would be more likely to utilize the inbuilt RPGs that are built into some of the suits. All of the weapons that are built into the suits, by the way, use a DNA system to detect the wearer's DNA, making these weapons only work for the wearer the suit is intended to be utilized by. So if some rando was somehow able to kill the Marine in the suit and take the suit, they would be unable to utilize it in any way, shape, or form. This also means that these suits can't really be hijacked by an enemy that sort of catches these Marines off guard while they're not in their suits. Interestingly, there are actually multiple variants of the Goliath Power Armor that developed over time. There are actually 5 versions of it, the Mark 1 through 5. Marks 1 and 2 were experimental early pressure suits utilized by the Martian Republic in its early days, and probably by some early iterations of the Force Recon Marines for the Martian Marine Corps. That was later evolved into the Mark III, which was visually different from the Mark I, which had a more solid build, and incorporated more useful tools, things like flashlights and stuff, into the suit, where previous versions had those mounted externally or carried as a separate item. The Goliath Mark IV armor is the armor we see on screen in the Expanse during the events of Season 3 with the Ganymede incident, for example. This armor is what we see used most of the time by Bobby Draper. And the last version that we see pop up occasionally on screen is the Mark V, although it doesn't really look any different from the Mark IV. Most of those changes are internal differences to their software and some of their minor internal workings. The Goliath Power Armor, interestingly, acted as almost an extension of Martian technological prowess into ground combat. We know, for example, that the MCRN had some of the most capable warships in the system, and that they were able to easily take out basically any adversary in one-on-one combat. Well, the Martian Force Recon Marines and their Goliath Power Armor almost represent an extension of that into ground combat, where, well, in most cases, Martians would have to fight adversaries that were more numerous or more capable in physical combat than they were. One of the most notable examples of this being the fact that the UN forces had grown up with Earth gravity, which is harsher than Mars's gravity. The Martians would ultimately be able to come into combat more capable wearing something like the Goliath Power Armor. And the Martians that would carry this power armor into combat would all be part of the Martian Marine Corps, and specifically the Martian Force Recon Marines. Now, the Martian Marine Corps is this larger entity that has other aspects to it, and if you'd like to learn more about the Martian Marine Corps itself, I'll leave a link up here to my video on that. And I want you to let me know down in the comments whether you think it would have been a worthwhile endeavor for the Martian Marine Corps to start utilizing Goliath Power Armor for their standard issue Marines as well, or do you think it makes sense to keep them for the more offensively minded Force Recon Marines? And if you have anything you'd like to see me cover in the Expanse, leave it down below in the comments. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.